Alrighty, everybody. It is currently, what is it, Thursday, September 4th, 2025, and I'm coming at you live from an underfunded public institution. Surprise, surprise. There's an underfunded public institution in the United States of America, and that's where I'm coming at you from, which is, once again, just like the introduction to the episode. I guess that episode's coming out next Monday, but still, it's a reflection of reality. That's I'm in a moldy dorm room, that's probably going to give me some sort of life-threatening respiratory infection. And that moldy dorm room is at an underfunded public institution. But hey, like I said before, man, we ball. We just got to figure it out and keep on moving forward. The noise has chilled out a little bit. I took a massive shit, so I don't know, maybe that clogged the pipes or something, and that just made everything stop working. Uh, and so now, nope, it is back and it is louder than ever. Whatever, man, fuck it. Uh, I'm probably gonna be recording at my friend's place next week, but still, uh, as long as I'm here, there's gonna be a loud noise. There's gonna be some loud noises going on, and I just don't have the time today to go out there and record. But I don't know. For me, doing this is like staying on a diet or working out or whatever, where it's like I need to stay consistent. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's not great, I just need to be consistent. Dude, whatever that machine is, whatever the thing running in the mechanical room is, I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's got a fucked up transmission. All right, they need to put some oil or some fucking lubricant on that thing because it is grinding than a motherfucker. It is literally like it sounds like I drive a car with a fucked up transmission, and sometimes when I'm really pushing it, going up a hill. By the way, that's pushing it in my car is like sometimes I'll see a hill and I'll be like, today's the day. I might die today. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it up that thing. Dude. Like that's how I feel when I'm driving and I see a hill in my car. I'm like, I might just have to live here now. Like I might have to find I might just have to drive 45 miles an hour on the highway to get to my destination because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it up that fucking hill, dude. But I've been driving my car long enough to know how to make it up a hill, but it is a fucking process, dude, because if I'm on like a 55 mile per hour road and I see a hill that even has a speck of steepness to it, I'm going 75 miles an hour and I'm getting to the top of that hill and full gas, pedal to the metal, just as fast as I can up the hill. I'm going 45 miles an hour by the time I reach the top, dude. My truck is fucked up, but I'm getting my little sister's new car or old car probably within a couple weeks. So this won't last long. Maybe next week, uh, if my roommate doesn't move in. This dude, I think he's just using this as like an on-campus storage spot because he hasn't slept here either of the past 2 nights. And even when like classes are going on, he's never here. So I think he's just keeping his stuff here, in case he needs it or whatever. I don't know. Hopefully he moves out. I would love to have my own dorm room, dude. Everything would be covered in cum, though. That's that's the other part of me having my own dorm room is I'd just be jacking off constantly and it would be going everywhere, dude. I'd be jacking off on the walls, on the carpet, dude. The carpet would be crispy as hell. The carpet would be like the skin of a fucking Kentucky Fried Chicken, man. It would be crunchy. It would be insane. But hopefully he does move out or he's never here. Either way, it's a positive for me. I don't know where he is though. I don't know. Maybe his girlfriend has an apartment and he's like living with her. But I don't know why he would like. He doesn't have too much shit here. I mean, he's got a couple laundry baskets, but he doesn't have nearly as much shit as I have here. So, yeah, I think he's just like coming here when he's like on campus or whatever. Or I don't know, maybe he gets in a fight with his girlfriend and then he comes here. I don't know exactly. I don't know how this dude operates, but I'm fine with it. As long as I got my own room. But the other thing about it is it has only been 2 days, so I don't know exactly what's going on with him. So I can't be gooning in the room. I can't be I can't be room gooning and have him walk in, dude. I can't be playing fucking, 18 BBC gangbang on the fucking TV, jacking off with, a pound of lotion on my hand and have him walk walk into the room. So I am a little bit backed up right now. I'll just say that much. The shower might take a little bit longer than usual today. Is is how I'll put the situation because I mean 2 days for me, we're dealing with a serious predicament. You know what I mean? That's a crisis. 2 days for me, it becomes an issue. But I also haven't been eating that much, so I think that's balancing things out a little bit where it's like, yes, am I horny constantly? Of course. Obviously, I'm 21 years old and I'm a guy. Of course I'm horny constantly. But of course I wake up with a boner that I'm rubbing into my bed. Um, but I think the lack of calories going into my system is keeping my libido nice and low, so I don't feel the need to jack off 4 times a day. Although, dude, it's it's been getting close to that because I got this one professor for my calculus class. God damn, is she fun. She's like this. I feel like she was probably like ugly, in high school and college and shit like that. So she's like this nerd who loves math, but god damn, does she have a great ass, man. And she spends most of the time like it's a math class, obviously, so she spends most of the time like writing shit on the whiteboard and like doing examples and stuff like that. So she's facing towards the whiteboard and just her ass is right there, man. And let me tell you, let me tell you guys about this thing. I'm gonna describe it in intimate detail, which might not be the brightest idea ever, but no one's gonna hear this, so I'm not too worried about it. But I mean, yeah, we're talking about shape, size, firmness, texture, you know what I mean? This is like, those get what's it called? Molecular gastronomy, like those restaurants where it's like they do all like this work, right? They're like combining chemicals and acid and all this fucking bullshit to create this small little dish, and it's just one perfect bite, and it has the texture, the flavor, the fucking history, the context. It's got everything great to it. And that's what my math professor's ass is like. It's just everything about it. It's not the biggest on earth, but it's a great ass. And it's like I said, it's a firm athletic ass. She's got a taut body. It's kind of like the mom for Modern Family. That's kind of the ass she's got going on, where it's like it's thick, but at the same time it's firm and muscular, and it's got an amazing shape to it. Like just straight up, you cannot imagine the shape to it. Almost a perfect shape. But I just like ass in general. Like that's the other thing, or not in general, chick ass in general. I like women's asses, really just as a whole. Like I said in the episode I just did, which doesn't come out yet, but still, it's I've taken a trip down BBW lane. All right. Once again, not literally because I'm a lonely virgin, but I've viewed it before and I've enjoyed it on a regular enough basis to know I think I just like ass, women ass. Once again, ass that is also attached to a vagina. That's the type of ass that I'm into. And I think I like most, if not all of it. Sometimes you get like a Latina mom frog butt, which I'm not a big fan of, but other than that, I think ass as a whole asshole ass. I was trying to figure out a joke for hole and ass. She just bleached her asshole. Whatever. I don't know. I like looking at it. I'm sure I like the feeling of it. I'm just a big fan of it, man. It's never a bad day if I see even a halfway decent ass. And I saw some halfway decent BBW ass. And the BBW ass that I saw yesterday was so thick that I could see the cellulite through the pants, which a lot of people are cellulite haters. I don't know. I've been a big MILF guy for most of my life. I think it was number two in the Pornhub categories ranking. Um, and so yeah, I'm not a cellulite hater. I know some people are where they're like, ew, that's gross, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Bitches just have cellulite. It's just like the way their bodies work, literally, which is That's something funny that I saw. So I saw this clip on TikTok of like this lib dude, like this pussy whipped bitch ass low T lib dude, and he's a liberal, right? So he's like a feminist. Ah, women rule the world. Women are all badass or whatever. But he's also a liberal, right? So he has to be progressive and like, you know, not ignore biological facts regarding gender and sex and stuff like that. So, so, so I'm setting this up to hate on the guy. Uh, Obviously, I'm not giving him a fair shake because I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff. But anyway, he was talking about how women have like this extra like cells or some shit in like the base of their neck that allows them to have more emotional regulation, which first of all, that's if that's true, then I, I don't know. I think men would be doing far worse shit than we're already doing. I feel like most men have whatever. I feel like the physical capacity and the violent capacity that most men have would be exacerbated even further if women had a higher emotional regulation than men, if that makes sense. Because women just freak out constantly. It's men have like a one freak out every decade or something like that. Like women will cry for like 15 minutes for every single day of their life, but men, we really hold it in and like push it down, and then just one day we explode and like, kill a sorority house full of women or drive off a bridge or something like that. But back to the, women emotional regulation thing. It was funny to me because it's like the cognitive dissonance there to be like women are biologically and inherently better than men, but to also be like men can become women is just it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing for him to be so close to acknowledging the fact that men and women are biologically different entities while simultaneously, I assume, supporting transgender ideology. Which once again, my whole thing with the transgender thing, I'm cool. I'm cool with like almost all of it. I'm cool with, the titty implants, cutting off your dick and balls if that's what you want to do, growing out the hair. I mean, like I said, I've been tricked by James Charles a number of times. I've seen what an ass can look like on a man. On a man. So I'm not against all that. I'm just like, you're not a woman though. Like that's what it is to me at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, it was very funny to see a liberal that I assume subscribes to like the transgender ideology, acknowledging the biological differences between men and women, but also acknowledging a biological difference that probably doesn't exist. That it's like a biological difference on TikTok. Like he discovered it on TikTok and he was just like, yeah, man, women are so much better. That's what women are known for, right? Women are known for never freaking out about anything ever. That's that's their whole deal. And like I said, I don't think men are, any better at like the just regulating our emotion as a whole. Maybe like slightly better just because it's something that's more expected of us. But I do think ultimately, um, we both have like men and women both have like the same amount of emotional regulation where it's just like women are just like a little bit each and every day or week or month or whatever, whereas men like we'll just instead of crying about our stress or screaming about it, we'll just like hold it inside and then eventually one day our heart just explodes. Like I think that's the difference between male and female emotional regulation. I don't think either one of us has a better handle on our emotions. I think it's just sorry, I keep burping. It's just the way that it comes out is different, Like a man, at least me, I'm a pretty typical man. I hold in the emotions. I don't let them out too much. And then when I'm driving, like someone will do something that's like slightly dangerous, and I'll just start punching my steering wheel and screaming, and I'm like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" And I say it's road rage when in reality, it's my uh, it's my suppressed emotions coming out. I just think that's the difference. Men will hold it down and just have like a big explosion occasionally, whereas women will they'll let it out then and there. And I think and maybe that does imply that men in some ways have better emotional regulation, but I think ultimately the consequence is the same emotional response, just the male version of it is more distilled in a singular event or a singular series of events, whereas the female version of the lack of emotional regulation is spread out over time. So it seems less extreme when in reality, if you combined all the freakouts that women have, it's the equivalent to me, in my car punching my steering wheel and screaming at the top of my lungs. I think that's they're similar, just one is a singular event and then the other one is like a more drawn out, relaxed event. It's like drinking 13 beers versus drinking, 13 shots type of thing. Where it's like it's going to take longer for you to drink 13 beers, but you're going to get a similar amount of drunk to if you took 13 shots, over the course of 2 hours. I think that's a good comparison for male and female emotional regulation, where it's just like they're more similar than people want to realize. And that's like a thing. I don't know, maybe it's just me maturing. Uh, it's just me kind of getting sick of the bullshit. I don't know. I'm on TikTok a lot, and a lot of the shit that goes on there, at least a lot of the shit that I see is like weird gender war stuff, where it's like women being like, you know, the male loneliness epidemic is deserved or whatever. You guys had it coming for you, blah blah blah. And then the other side of it is men are lonely because all women are whores who just want to fuck, um, like dudes that are out of their leagues, right? And I think both of those things are they have an element of truth to them. So, and I'll explain why, and I'll explain why they're more similar than I think people want to like admit to. I think people want to create this dichotomy between, the male and female experience, when in reality, I think they're a lot more similar uh than some people might realize. So I think the male loneliness thing, and I think both of these things are like socially driven, right? Where women are being whores more than they used to be, and men are being these weird, somewhat violent, hateful, incels. And I think both of those things are due to the same societal pressure of, uh, I don't know if social progression is the right word, but uh, basically not, fuck. I think the fucking noise is distracting me. Sorry if you guys hear that. It sounds like I'm letting out an absolute fucking trucker fart. I'm not. It's whatever's going on in the mechanical room. But it's this weird social pressure to make men and women things that they necessarily aren't, right? Or it's I don't think most women want to be whores that just fuck dudes that they think are hot or rich, right? Women aren't historically haven't been whores. Some people will blame it on the patriarchy and the suppression of female sexuality, but male sexuality has been just as oppressed. So I don't think that that's I don't think it's like women are now free and so now they're able to express themselves. I think it's like the social pressure, this weird social conditioning, and some people will be like, oh, it's the media, it's the Illuminati. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's this thing that exists that makes men into things that they aren't supposed to be and women into things that they aren't supposed to be, right? Like the whole whore thing. Women don't want to be whores. They're just not as horny as men are. They don't, and when they do get horny, it's just not in the same way. It's not men get horny and they're like, I'll fuck anything that moves. So women will get horny and they'll be like, I want to fall in love with a man or something like that. But then you have these societal pressures of, singers like Sabrina Carpenter and, the what's that chick's name? Call Her Daddy chick. You have like those things like telling women that like being a whore is fun. When in reality, most women that it's just not something that they enjoy. It's not the way their brains operate. It's just they don't enjoy doing it, but they're kind of they have this societal pressure on them to be a whore because if you're not being a whore, then you're like suppressing your sexuality and you're not being a free, independent woman and you're giving into the patriarchy and the male dominated space and all that stuff. I think that's a societal pressure that exists on women that I don't know if and I don't know if it's real or not. It's pure speculation, but I don't think most men, especially lonely men like myself, well, I don't think we fully comprehend that. It's like most of these women that are doing this stuff, they're not happy, right? They're giving in to this propaganda almost that going out and getting drunk and being fucked by a different dude every week is somehow fun. It's not fun. You look at these women, the vast majority of women in this country self-report like mental health issues, and a massive percentage of them are on psychiatric drugs of some kind. And I think the reason for that is the weird societal pressure that's been created. And once again, there might be a grander conspiracy at play, but I'm just talking about the specific phenomena itself. The societal pressure on women to not be what women just kind of naturally want to be. They don't want to be whores, man. They don't want to go out and fuck every week, but they've been told, especially now with social media and stuff like that. And once again, this isn't all women, not all women are experiencing this societal pressure, but a lot of them kind of have been told this message, over and over and over again. And like all these women that are idolized in our society are women like that, whores. It's People don't like the word whore. I don't know. I think it's a good description to me. But I don't know if you don't like it, whatever the term you want to use is sexually promiscuous. Whatever words you want to say. I, I I think that that's kind of been put on women, and they don't naturally want to indulge in those things. Men maybe do, and we shouldn't try to fuck a different woman every week or a different. If you're a gay dude, you shouldn't try to fuck a different dude every week. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you want to doesn't mean you should. Um, but yeah, I think that's the missing piece, kind of between young men and women right now, where we don't understand each other's struggle in like these societal pressures that are being put on us to act in a certain way that's kind of directly opposed to how we would naturally want to act, right? And I think the side of that for men is the whole approaching women deal, right? It's the reason why men in this country are so lonely, and people have talked about this before, and I've heard people talk about this, and maybe women have talked about, the societal pressures of kind of being a whore. Look, it's everyone can improve themselves, is what I'm trying to say here at the end of the day. But you do have to make that effort to try to improve yourself and become a better person, right? You can't just be like, I'm a whore, and then the next day I'm gonna get married. You have to make the effort to deprogram yourself in that way, it being like I was young and I was stupid and I let these societal pressures get to me. And men have to do the same thing where we have to kind of acknowledge the fact that and I just I think maybe women have a little bit more power in this situation. I think maybe that's one of the big flips that's going on where women are kind of being told you should be powerful and you should do whatever you want, whereas men are kind of experiencing the opposite, where it's like you shouldn't do whatever you want and you should just be like this quiet little mouse that just scurries around and stuff like that. And I think, and I don't think the opposite is true, right? Just because I think it's a fucked up situation where women now hold more power and are being told to be more powerful and are being told to, follow their dreams and, or not follow their dreams, but just like kind of do whatever you want in society. I don't think it should be flipped to where men are in the situation where women are now, where it's like, do whatever you want, be a powerful man, blah, 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 blah. I don't think either of those things are the answer. I think somewhere in the truth is the middle. Um, but yeah, I just think that's the major misunderstanding that's going on right now that is kind of creating this divide between young men and women, where like young men are once again not holding a lot of power and they're being told, asking women out is creepy and stuff like that, and approaching a woman that you don't know is weird and creepy, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it is, but we have to understand the nuance and the context of the situation, which, once again, that's hard for the society as a whole to do. It's hard for us to fully wrap our heads around like the nuances of asking a random woman out, right? There's it's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult to get an entire society of people with all completely different brains to understand nuance in the same way. It's not an easy task. It's possible, right? Everyone can understand nuance, but it's just not that simple. And back to like the whole men asking women out thing, like that's the way it's supposed to work. Men are supposed to be the ones who kind of pursue women and, do all that shit to get in a relationship with them. But our modern society have has kind of made it to where that can't happen. And obviously the women, they don't have that inherent drive, that inherent impulse to be like, I want to go ask this dude out. They obviously have the inherent impulse of like seeing someone that they're attracted to and like wanting to spend time around them and all that stuff, but they don't have that same thing in men that has evolved over, hundreds of thousands of years to, go after and pursue these women in a more meaningful way. So I think that's the big thing that's going on here right now. And obviously, everyone's gonna get mad at what I said, even though I feel like it's fairly reasonable. The incels are gonna get mad at it because they're like, no, you don't understand. Women are only attracted to hot guys. And it's like, yeah, man, that's the way being attractive works, right? Like, I'm not attractive and I never will be, right? No woman is just gonna look at me and be like, that's the guy I'm gonna fall in love with, you know, and stuff like that. And like, be surrounded by a swarm of them asking me out and all that shit. That's never gonna happen, right? Women are attracted to attractive men. Um, and the women are gonna get mad by being like, "No, you don't understand. Fucking, these guys aren't creepy, and they aren't getting worse." And look, I think both of us are getting worse, is what I'm trying to say here. At the end of the day, I think both young men and women are uh, progressively kind of devolving at the same rate. Giving in to these societal pressures that don't fit our inherent qualities and stuff like that, and that's making us uh just stray further and further from what we should be, which is normal, respectful people that hold the same amount of power but use it in different ways. I think that's what men and women should be, but it's not. Is what it is, man. God, I can't do anything about it. So that's why you got to go monk mode. This is my advice. This is, if anyone outside of Vincent Klein is listening to this, it's going to be a young dude. So I'll tell you, just become a monk, man. Just go to the gym, play your video games, learn to control yourself emotionally, jerk off every day, and just chill out like that. Don't become complacent, right? Um, but don't get angry about it because that's not going to help solve the situation at all. And I understand you want to get angry about it. I get angry about it sometimes. Just being lonely, you your emotions get a little bit fucked up, right? When the only person there to affirm or deny your feelings are you, your emotions get all out of whack and stuff like that. So you have to understand and learn how to regulate your own emotions and how to try to look at them from a more logical, objective point of view. This is for young men. Women, I don't know. I don't have any advice for you besides I know you guys don't like being whores. All right. I know, I know you guys don't enjoy that. So just stop doing it. And I think it kind of plays into the female psyche of wanting to like kind of fit into the crowd a little bit more, whereas men maybe want to stand out. And what I mean by that is when every woman around you and when every woman you see on social media, these big influencers, these people that you kind of look up to in a way, when they're saying be a whore, it's fun and you should do it because you're a powerful, independent woman. When women see that, they're like, okay, well, that's what I need to do to kind of fit into this crowd and be well liked, which dudes also experience that. But I think it's a little bit different with men. So, yeah, I don't know. If you're a dude, be a monk. If you're a woman, also be a monk. A female version of a monk is a nun. So if you're a man, be a monk. If you're a woman, be a nun. And just everyone needs to chill out a little bit. I get it. A lot of shit's fucked up. But it's just, and I'm not saying don't do anything about it, right? That's the other thing. I think a lot of people will be like, it's fucked up. Just focus on yourself and don't do anything. No, no, you have control over your situation, but yeah, it's the only solution to this. I don't think most people want to hear it, and I don't think most people want to indulge in it and like actually do it. But it's a revolution, right? People argue about what type of revolution is needed. Some people say it's, communism or socialism. Some people will say we need like a more libertarian, conservative type of society. I don't know what it is, but the situation is very fucked up right now. specifically regarding the government. I'm no longer talking about the kind of differences between men and women in that sort of dichotomy and uh society. I'm talking about the government here, which you could blame them for a lot of the things that are going on right now. You know, the reason that so many people are angry and upset and are choosing to give in to their emotional urges as opposed to, controlling themselves and trying to figure out what a solution to this fucked up situation is. I think you can blame a lot of that on the government, and the policies that they've created that create this society of angry, upset people who kind of live in a completely unnatural way. I think they truly are to blame for that. And I don't think anything's going to change with protests or, policies or petitions or whatever. I don't think those are the things that are going to change society. I think the change is going to be violent, and I just don't think people want to accept that fact. And I don't want to accept it either. I really hope that it's not. I really hope we can, create policies that prevents the type of corruption and, treatment of the American people, but I don't think that's going to happen naturally because it doesn't benefit the people in power to do that, right? It doesn't benefit them. It doesn't benefit powerful people to limit their power. So they're not going to do it. So we have to do that. And the only way we're going to convince them is through means that are unsavory. People don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. It's the situation. It's the reality. And it sucks. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish, reasonable people could come to a reasonable conclusion, but the people in power aren't reasonable. There's nothing, they don't work within the world of logic, right? They don't even quite frankly work within the world of emotion because I think if they did, they would have a lot more empathy for the people that they have power over. So I don't think they work within a world of logic or emotion. I think they work within, this world of psychopathic greed. Um, and they just want to hold on to power and money and all that shit. And you're not going to convince them to stop doing that. You're not going to make some argument that's going to make them stop doing that, right? These people are insane. They don't have the same emotions and the same feelings as regular humans. They don't give in to the same pressures that regular humans give into. Um, right? They're not going to change their behavior because everyone dislikes them. Nancy Pelosi. No one likes Nancy Pelosi. And I guess she is a Democrat, which might seem like I'm shitting on Democrats. Donald Trump as well. No one likes Donald Trump. No one likes it. Conservatives, I'm a pretty conservative dude, and I don't like Donald Trump at all. You know, I hate him for different reasons than the Democrats hate him, but I don't like him. And most other conservatives are in that boat as well. He's not a conservative, right? Like everyone being like Donald Trump is conservative. No, he's not. He's not conservative basically at all. He's not like societally conservative. If Donald Trump was conservative, he would believe in like family values and stuff like that. But he clearly doesn't because he's not doing anything to, you know, kind of limit the power of these companies and quite frankly, members of government that are destroying family values in this country, right? He's not doing anything about that because he doesn't care about those things. Same with Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, there's nothing progressive about Nancy Pelosi, right? She's an old school Democrat. She Democrats don't like her, conservatives don't like her. The only reason she's in power is because it's a lot easier to rig an election than most people realize. It's a pretty simple thing to rig an election, right? When you choose who counts the ballots, you are gonna win. And she obviously doesn't choose who counts the ballots, but she has a lot of power, over the people that choose who counts the ballots or who choose, the poll takers and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the change in society is going to be, yeah, or the change in government, not necessarily. I think when you talk about change in society, you're talking about turning on your fellow countrymen, which, as much as I might hate some of these people, I have no interest in turning on them and making them my enemy because they're not, right? The people that, believe in transgender ideology and, as far left as they can be, they're really not my enemy. They don't hold enough power over me, for me to consider them in any way, shape, or form an enemy. I would consider them more of an ally, more of a friend than they are an enemy. just because they don't hold that power over me. They're not the ones that are fucking me over. As much as I might dislike them and disagree with them about the way the government and just society should be, as much as I disagree with them on that, they're not the ones that are, making houses unaffordable. They're not the ones that are making, life kind of unlivable from a financial standpoint. They're not the ones doing that. And they're not the ones making life unlivable from a societal standpoint either. They don't have enough power to do that, right? Even as a collective, they don't. The power within America has been uh, corporatized. I don't know what the right conglomerated, I guess is the right word. The people in this country really don't hold too much power anymore. As much as you might blame, uh, these people for allowing the trans thing to run wild and a lot of the other things that are more progressive policies to exist, right? The massive taxes and stuff like that. As much as you might blame them for that, at the end of the day, they're not the ones that did that. It was the politicians who did that. They might agree with the politicians on some of that shit, but I think ultimately they just they just didn't do it. They weren't the ones that did it. They weren't the ones that, you know, made 50% of my money disappear every month. They just weren't the ones that did that. And I know, I understand the point of view where it's like, well, they supported it. They did, and they continue to, and they're wrong. They're incorrect about that thing, but they didn't do it. They didn't sign that bill into the law. So they're they're not your enemy. As much as you might disagree with them, and as much as you might continue to disagree with them, they they being either the conservatives that you hate or the progressives that you hate, they just aren't doing it. They're not the ones that they're not the ones that did the thing, right? And even if you look at them, they're ideological, very hopeful people, right? Both conservative and liberal. They're both pretty hopeful that their thing can work and that their thing will benefit society at large. Some of them aren't. Some of them are truly hateful people who want to fuck over, men or white people or, black and brown people, gay people, whether we're talking about conservatives or progressives here. Some of them are truly hateful people, but the vast majority of them, as much as you might hate them, and as much as I hate them, uh, they're just people who kind of want what's best for them and what's best for the people that they care about, and by extension, society at large. So I think, and once again, you can take the conspiracy point of view where it's like they created this propaganda and the Jews or whatever made this propaganda. I don't care who it was. All right, that doesn't particularly matter to me. It's not of interest. In my personal opinion, I think it's just trying to solve the problem. And I guess part of solving the problem is figuring out who created it in the first place. Um, but when you pin that on an ethnicity, it does kind of become a little bit of a problem, right? Because there are people that aren't Jewish who fucked over this country. Um, so yeah. Look, I'm not telling anyone to storm any buildings or anything, but I think ultimately the solution is gonna be costly, right? Whether it's costly in terms of lives or whether whatever. I think it's going to be a costly solution, and I don't think a lot of people want to pay the price for that. I think, people would rather everyone live a kind of shitty life than have a few people live a super shitty life, and then society at large is better. And it's not like an Omelas situation where Omelas is this story about this perfect society, right? That everything in the society is perfect, it runs perfectly smoothly. And one day this dude shows up and he's like, wow, everything here is so perfect. And he kind of snoops around a little bit, and eventually he finds a kid in a closet that's being, tortured to make this perfect society, right? They're putting everything negative onto this child in order to have society as a large be better. And I don't think the what I'm talking about is similar to that situation because I think the people who live those shitty lives and do the things that other people don't want to do to make the government behave itself, the people that would do that would be doing it voluntarily. So don't fucking be comparing this to fucking Omelas or anything like that. And that's what makes this such a shitty situation is that someone's gonna have to do it voluntarily. And look, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. I haven't fucking done the things that need to be done. Um, but I just it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough when you have to step up and do something voluntarily. Especially something that might not benefit you. Yeah, it's tough. Shitty. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. All right, but this is current events, so we've got to talk about the news a little bit. God damn, dude. Ah, I can't wait to have my own car. Oh, by the way, I've been thinking about getting like a little mic to put on my phone so I can record while I'm driving. I don't know. I think that might be a fun idea. Call them car casts, something like that. I think that could be something that's a little bit fun. So our first news article of the day is from UN Women, which uh, judging by what's going on specifically in the Middle East and India and parts of Africa, the UN doesn't care about women, but let's see what they have to say. So, half the world, only a quarter of the news. Women appear or are heard in just 26% of all broadcast, radio, and print clips. And I feel like they're gonna try to put this on like the West, right? They're gonna try to put this on like America and like Europe and stuff like that. We're we're not the ones doing it, right? Like, so let's think about this. No, let's not think about this actually. But I don't think we're the ones to blame for it, right? I don't think the West is to blame for women not getting proper representation. I think it's Africa and the Middle East and India, and probably like Indonesia as well. I think those are the people to blame for women not being, on the news and stuff like that, right? Because you look at every every news channel in America has is at least 50% women, if not entirely, female led. So they're going to try to blame it on us. It's not our fault, though. So let's read. New York, women make up half of the global population, yet just a quarter of those who are seen or heard in the news. This statistic has barely changed in the last 15 years, with a mere 9-point change in 30 years. The latest edition of the Global Media Monitoring Project. Well, fucking look out, guys. They're about to start taking heads. Produced by the International Communications Right Organization and supported by the UN Women's Act to End Violence Against Women program, is the largest and longest running research to study gender representation in the media. This year's findings reveal that women account for just 26% of news subjects and sources, demonstrating a stark absence in broadcasting, radio, and print. This lack of representation is especially critical for young women and girls who do not find themselves represented in mainstream media. Equally alarming, gender-based violence barely makes the news. Despite affecting half the world's population, fewer than 2 in 100 stories cover the abuse that far too many women experience. Look, all right. Look, you can't be beating on the women and raping them and doing all that stuff. None of that's good. And it's bad. And it's a problem we've got to fix. All right? But there's people being slaughtered in the streets. There are people, there is countries of people being bombed into oblivion. I get it. This sucks and it shouldn't be happening. Right? It should not be happening. But there are bigger problems at play here. I'm sorry. In addition, only 2 of every 100 stories clearly challenge stereotypes, confirming that media remains a sticky barrier to gender equality by reinforcing existing biases. What the fuck does that mean? And this, by the way, what I just read, not the 2 in 100 stories that cover, honestly, that seems a bit of an overrepresentation, dude. It seems when people are getting killed every single day, right? Like in Chicago, like 7 people got shot, or 7 people died from getting shot over the Labor Day weekend in Chicago. That's, I'm sorry, that's a bigger deal than women getting beat on. It's, it sucks that women are getting beat on and mistreated and all that stuff. But people dying is a bigger deal, unfortunately. And then this thing about 2 in every 100 stories clearly challenge stereotypes. That's just completely subjective, so I don't know how true that is. And look, I'm not saying women have it great. Like I said, a lot of countries out there, there's probably 2 billion women that on paper, probably even more than that, and depending on your definition, it's 4 billion women on paper don't have the same rights as men. But I'm talking about like literally on paper, women are treated as lesser than men. At least 2 women, 2 billion women experience that, not two. It would be funny if there was just 2 women that the entire world hated and they were like, you are less than everyone else. No, it is a decent amount and it does need to be stopped, but I think focusing on the media aspect of it is kind of ridiculous. I understand how you do anything is how you do everything, right? If we don't have women, properly represented in media and stuff like that, they're not going to be properly represented in other aspects of life. I understand that aspect about equality and just everything as a whole. How you do anything is how you do everything. I understand that, but we got to build a base first, right? We talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the Gen Z episode I did. We got to get women like fed and we got to get them like security and then we can start to focus on the other things. That's my main issue with articles like these. It's like, guys, there's far bigger issues than that women are facing than being properly represented in the news, dude. It's like fucking 9-year-old girls are being married off and raped in Afghanistan. It's far larger issue than some big-titted Latin chick not being able to read the news. I'm sorry, it is. It is what it is, man. So, but let's read a little bit more about this. Journalism that counters gender stereotypes is now at its lowest in 3 decades of GMMP monitoring, clear evidence that the growing global pushback against women and girls is undermining hard-won progress. And this is kind of the feeling that I've always had when women are like, we're unequal, right? Especially in America. Like, if you're a woman in Afghanistan or India or the Middle East or Africa or a lot of countries, if you're a woman there and you want to bitch about being unequal, okay, I understand. You guys don't even have the resources to like fight for equality. But like when women in America do it, I'm like, you guys know guns are legal, right? You guys know you could just pick up a gun and start blasting, and no one will really even have that big of a problem with it. Some people will, right? Some people will, some incel online will have a problem with it, but I don't know. If you shoot your abusive husband in the head, I don't give a shit, man. It's not. If he fucking touches you, shoot him in the head. If he touches you after you told him not to, shoot him in the head. I don't give a fuck. And most people don't. I really do not care if you want to do that. But let's read a little bit more about this. Despite this sobering picture, there has been progress in some areas. For example, 41% of reporters in traditional news articles are now women, an improvement from 28% in 1995. This is especially important because stories by women journalists are consistently more likely to include women subjects, 29%, than stories by men, 24%, underlining the importance of parity in newsroom staffing as a pathway to more equal representation. And this is the thing they don't want to talk about. People have more empathy for people that are similar to them. And that applies to race, that applies to nationality, that applies to ethnicity, that applies to gender. People are going to be far more empathetic to people who share characteristics with them for one reason or the other. I'm sure there's some psychological or sociological reason why that's true, why people are more empathetic to people that look like them. I don't know. There's probably like some ancient human tribalism bullshit, but it's true, right? And that's ultimately why women want more women in media. It's not because it's because they think they're going to cover their issues more. That's why they want them there. It's not just because they want to like look at a woman on a screen, right? If that was the case, then men would want women in media more. It's the reason women want media or women in media is because women are going to talk about women more. Same with black people, same with every other group of people. And I'm not saying they're wrong to have that feeling. I'm just saying that's that's kind of the uncomfortable fact about this that people don't want to talk about, where it's like the reason black people want more black people on, TV is because they feel more when they see another black person on TV. Same with white people. It's true of every group of people. Um, yeah, it just is the way our brains work. Like I said, it's probably some ancient human tribalism. If you have more empathy for people that are more similar to you, then your tribe becomes stronger and all that bullshit. But that's the truth of the situation. Women want more women in media because they just feel more connected to them, right? And they know women are going to talk about women more, and they like hearing about women, man. People are self-centered, men are too. But I guess I'll finish this article. It's not very long. So, in media, voices of authority are still male dominated. Women are more often quoted as eyewitnesses giving personal accounts and not as subject matter experts, despite their qualifications. The 2025 findings come at a landmark moment for gender equality as the world enters the final 5 years of the Sustainable Development Goals and marks Beijing plus 30 at the 80th UN General Assembly. The findings underscore an urgent truth. Backlash is real, progress is stalled, and accountability cannot wait. And this is true. Women worldwide, if you take the rights and the advantages of women, and you take in the privileges of women, and you put that against men, women do have it worse off when you look at it on a grand scale. But when you look at it in individual countries, that's not the case, right? This America is not the problem here. China is not the problem here. It is, like I said, Afghanistan. That's the best example of it. Iraq, Yemen, places like that. That's where women are, grossly mistreated and underrepresented. And what do those places have in common? I don't know. I don't know what those places have in common. But yeah, hey, look, I hope it gets better. I really do. I don't know. But I do hope we don't invade Afghanistan again. That would suck. So, all right. This article is from the BBC, and this is a little bit more world news for you here. I didn't want to talk about Trump today. And I hate him. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I hate him. He's done a few decent things, a few things that are all right, but for the most part, he's a pretty shitty dude, and I don't like him, and most people don't like him, including conservatives. So, allies ready to support Ukraine before and after peace deal, says UK. Not true. They're not. They're going to be supporting Ukraine by they're going to be supporting them by exploiting them, dude. Ukraine, learn from the past when it comes to the UK. These are not people that go to places and just help everyone. They're going to want something in return, Ukraine. And same goes for the US, too. I'm not saying the UK is the only bad guy here. The US does the same thing as well. It's the entire reason why we're involved in Ukraine in the first place. We want to bleed Russia dry, and then we want to go into Ukraine and get, the rare earth minerals and the oil and the coal and whatever the fuck else we can get out of there. That's why we're helping Ukraine. We're not helping them because we believe in their right to exist or the fucking, Ukrainian national identity. Americans don't even believe in our own fucking national identity, dude. That's a kick I've been going on lately. I've been getting big into like American national identity. I've been listening to fucking America the Beautiful on repeat, or My Country 'Tis of Thee. Been listening to all that shit, dude. Ray Charles, America, America. I've been listening to that shit a lot because I believe in an American national identity. But apparently, the United States government doesn't. But we do believe in a Ukrainian national identity and an Israeli national identity. And I guess really every national identity outside of our own we believe in, which is just it's very funny to me. And I understand why. I understand why Black Americans and, historically oppressed groups in this country would not want to support the American national identity. But in order for us to create a cohesive society, you have to create a national identity. That's why Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore were able to do so well. He basically forced, and there was already a Singaporean identity, but he kind of forced everyone to adopt the Singaporean national identity, which I don't think we should force people to adopt the American national identity, but I do think it's important that we are Americans, right? Whatever you believe in, whatever color you are, even if I hate you, you're an American. All right? Remember that, dude. As much as I might talk shit about you, at the end of the fucking day, you're an American. All right? And I love you for that. I love you for being an American. I love Americans. All right, let's read about what the UK wants to do. I'm surprised. All right, the UK and its allies stand ready to support Ukraine before negotiations to the end war as well. I think that might be a typo. Oh, as well as to secure, negotiations to end the war, as well as to secure an eventual peace deal, the UK Defense Secretary says. Ahead of a top-level meeting in Paris Thursday, John Healey told the BBC in Kiev that Ukraine's allies would help make the skies safe, to make the seas safe, and to secure the land. And once a peace deal has been struck, about 30 leaders will take part in the Paris summit in person or online. Putin's gonna be calling into the fucking peace deal negotiations with cat ears in a fucking, he's in like an Italian villa green screen background with cat ears on. How do I turn this off? What? What is the issue? I have cat ears? And he opens his mouth and the fucking dog tongue comes out. Is this Snapchat filter? I see me growing the kids play with this. This is Snapchat filter. Uh, it's very funny though. So, say technical work on providing security guarantees is now complete in the event of a ceasefire. I hope this happens. France's Emmanuel Macron said the question now is the sincerity of Russia. President Vladimir Putin conveyed a defiant message from China on the eve of the meeting, vowing his full-scale invasion could continue. Putin's just a troll, dude. This is the thing you have to understand about Putin. Putin is ex-KGB. This dude is a spy. He loves nothing more than just like perpetually fucking with people. That's what Putin likes to do. So when Putin's like, I don't know, maybe it'll end, maybe it won't. How do I know what's going on here? That's just because Putin is a spy who loves fucking with people. And it is funny. There's this hilarious clip of when Putin and Trump met in Alaska, and a reporter is like, Putin, are you gonna stop killing civilians? And he like scratches his ear. He like does that thing where you clean out your ear to be like, can I hear you better now? He does that, and he's like, I don't know, because he's a KGB spy, man. It's his life calling to just fuck with people to no end. It's what he enjoys doing. He's a troll, and he's fucking hilarious. So, yeah, hopefully this will end. Uh, I think for the most part, Russia's army is still a volunteer force, which is the main reason why they'll probably end up winning this war, is that Ukrainians really don't want this war. They really don't. They don't like it. The men, the women, they're not terribly affected by it. They're affected, but not on nearly the same scale that the men are. A lot of the women are uh living in relative peace, and they're and it's a shitty situation for the men, because these women are, it's the same as when, you know, dudes in America deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever, where it's like your lady's alone now and you think she's gonna behave. A lot of them will. Most of them will behave themselves, but not some of these other ones, right? A lot of these women are going to like London and Berlin and stuff like that. They're not gonna behave themselves there. They're not gonna behave themselves if they're in like Spain or Italy or something. They're not. So yeah, it's a shitty situation for the dudes over there. In terms of being slaughtered en masse and being forced to fight in a trench, for an area of Ukraine that you've never visited and that you don't really care about. It's a shitty situation for them. And it's a shitty situation for them in terms of, how their women are gonna be. Because they're not misbehaving. They're not behaving at all, dude. A couple of naughty little girls running around cheating on their boyfriends who are in a fucking mud pit right now. Yeah, so it sucks for them too. And this happens constantly in war. I don't know how much of a modern symptom this is. I think just historically it just kind of happens in a war where women are like, all right, this guy's not around. I'm lonely. I'm gonna go, you know, fill my problems with something else. Sometimes it's alcohol. A lot of the times they're getting literally filled. So shitty situation for the boys over in Ukraine. But back to Britain. The UK Defense Secretary suggested there was a bluster in Putin's words, insisting that Russia was under pressure. One of the key requirements envisaged by diplomats is an American safety net, and NATO Chief Mark Rutte said the aim was to have clarity on what the coalition could deliver so that they could discuss what the Americans could provide. Once again, everything involving NATO or the UN, America is the one paying the price for this, right? When this war is over and Ukraine is being rebuilt, guess who's going to foot the bill? America. Guess who footed the bill for this entire war? America. People will be like, no, Germany helped out. No, they did. America sent a trillion fucking, like half a bit. I'll look it up real quick, but sent the most amount of money you've ever heard of in your entire life over to Ukraine. We're the one who foot the bill. Footed? Feet? Did we feet the bill for this war? But we are the ones that foot the bill for this war. It wasn't Poland. You think Poland did? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Poland. Get fucking real. Uh, that America sent to Ukraine. I need a producer for this podcast, dude. If anyone is in Lawrence, Kansas, hit me up. All right, because I need someone to help me out with this. How much did America send to Ukraine? 100 180 billion. Okay, what did I say? Half a trillion? Pretty close. I thought we sent them like a single deal that was like 150 billion. No? All right. I guess 180 billion. Still a lot, dude. Because you got to remember, a billion is 1,000 million. So, and we've sent 180,000 million dollars. So, 180,000 million is what we've sent over there. So, do the math on that real quick. That's 180,000 um Americans whose lives could be perfect right now, but they're not. What the fuck? Okay. Sorry, I was on a Wired article and I didn't know I had to pay for it. So I'll just read the headline and then talk about that a little bit and then we'll get out of here. So, automated sextortion spyware takes webcam pics of victims watching porn. A new specimen of InfoStealer malware offers a disturbing feature. It monitors a target's browser for NSFW content, then takes simultaneous screenshots of the webcam photos of the victim. Oh, simultaneous screenshots and webcam photos of the victim. So yeah, your nightmare is true, dude. Every time you jack off and you think, is someone watching me right now? What the fuck is going on? Oh God, I gotta cover up my camera with my thumb or something like that. Every time you're jacking off, it could be happening. But my whole thing about that is like, I don't know. Like you can't see my dick when I'm jacking off, right? Like even when I'm holding it, you know what I mean, in a precarious situation, I don't think you can see the meat or anything. And it's just like if someone, I don't know. It's like I'm not scared of this at all. It's like, oh, you took a picture of my face and then you took a screenshot of porn. I don't know. That's not threatening to me at all. It's like, okay, you got a picture of my face and then you're gonna say it was when I was jacking off. How are you gonna prove that? It could just be literally my face is the same when I'm jacking off as when I'm like scrolling on my phone. It's the exact same thing. So I'm not too threatened by that, and neither should you. Unless you're jerking off with your phone like in front of your dick, right? Unless you're basically taking a dick pic, I don't think you have too much to worry about in this situation. And it's like, I don't know, you probably couldn't see your face in that situation either. You could just be like, no, that's not my dick. You think my dick is that big? That would be the thing I said. You think my dick is that big, dude? My dick is half that size. That's what I would go with in this situation. But all right, hey man, this second episode went a lot better than the first one, and that's typically how things go. Um, but yeah, that's all I've got for this episode, guys. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep recording in my dorm room. If I'm not, you guys are going to be getting some car casts, which hopefully they won't be awful. I'll have to see if my friend still has the that mic I can use. Hopefully he does. If he doesn't, they're like $10 online, so I'm not stressing. But anyway, I hope you have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life. And that's all I've got for this episode, guys. Like I said, I always hope it goes well for you. Once again, remember, if I talk shit about you, at the end of the day, you're still an American, and I'll always love you for that. All right? I love you. Peace.